Good morning and welcome to our session on how to make the most out of Idea Swap. I'm happy to welcome you here today. This session will be recorded and shared on our platforms, just for everyone to know that. Before we begin our meeting today, I would like to acknowledge the land on which we are meeting. While we are meeting virtually, the New England Foundation for the Arts, also known as NEFA, our offices are based on the traditional lands of the Massachusetts, Wampanoag, and Nipmuc people, and we honor their ancestors, past, present, and future, and recognize their continued existence and contributions to our society. At NEFA, we believe that one of the roles of the arts is to make the invisible visible. We also believe that it is not the responsibility of those who have been made invisible to remind us that they are still here. We also acknowledge that all places where we provide support and hold events are Indigenous lands, and we offer our respect to those who have and continue to steward the land on which we meet. We will take a moment to pause, and I invite you to reflect on the deep history of these lands and its people. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Adrienne Petrillo, my pronouns are she, her, and I am the Senior Program Director for New England Presenting and Touring at NEFA. I'm joining you today from my home on Massachusetts and Pawtucket land. I am also joined by my colleagues, Fallon Ellard, Jane Preston, Michelle Daly, and Ann Wicks. They will introduce themselves in the chat, and I invite you to do the same. I also want to thank our ASL interpreters today, Lisa Gentile and Elizabeth Nodalski. In today's session, we will provide a little bit of context about NEFA's work and the Idea Swap event, and then we'll move into a panel discussion with 4 people who have attended many Idea Swaps in the past. They will share their experience of attending, how the Idea Swap benefits their work, and help to address any questions that folks who are joining us today may have. And hoping we have time at the end, we may go into some very short breakouts so we can do a little bit of informal networking so that you have a chance to meet a few people in person or meet face to face anyway, before we meet in person at Mechanics Hall in Worcester. So I'm going to pass to my colleague, Jane Preston, who will share more about NEFA's work.
Good morning, everyone. As Adrienne said, I'm Jane Preston. I use she, her pronouns, and I am joining also from Pawtucket and Massachusetts lands. And I am Deputy Director for Programs at NEFA, and really excited to welcome everyone to Idea Swap very soon. And we're glad to have you here today to learn a few things about the event and to learn a bit about NEFA. You may be new to Idea Swap. We don't necessarily assume that you're new to NEFA, but we'll just give the quick rundown and background about our organization. And we started in the mid-70s in 1976. We are one of 6 regional organizations that were founded around the same time. And we are the band between the National Endowment for the Arts and the state arts agencies. And we receive funding from both and work very closely with the NEA and with the New England, our region's state arts agencies, Massachusetts Cultural Council, Connecticut Arts Commission, Maine Arts Commission, New Hampshire State Council on the Arts, Rhode Island State Council on the Arts, and the Vermont Arts Council. We are not a government agency. We are a 501c3. And so the foundation part of our name is a bit of a misnomer. We are not a government agency, but we do, we are a grant seeker. We also, so we understand a bit about what that's like. We raise funds so that we can re-grant those funds and redistribute them to artists and organizations in New England and also beyond New England. We have national and international programs as well. So now that we've deconstructed our name, we'd love to give you a sense of the scale of the organization. Last year, we awarded almost 6 million grants and over 400 individual grants. And that was somewhat higher than a usual year, even though in some of our grant programs, we were slightly smaller because of COVID. We also gave, had the opportunity to give a lot of grants through COVID funds, federal funds, and foundation funds provided by the American Rescue Plan. So there's a wide variety of grant amounts, and that all depends on the programs. So we're going to quickly look at programs that are accessible to you. We won't talk about all of them at IdeaSwap, but just so you have an overview, let's take a look at the next slide, which shows the programs of the regional arts organizations. As I said, NEFA is one of 6. We all have different sizes of regions and populations, but we do a lot collaboratively. And there are programs that are run by other organizations, that other regional arts organizations that you also have access to. So that some of them are support for artists, some are to tour internationally, to host artists from other countries. Presenting Native artists, there's an incentive to provide to present Native touring artists and jazz residencies, and we're also doing some strategic leadership development initiatives, the Leaders of Color Fellowship Program, which is new to our region this year. So there is a website that has a map that shows all of this and goes into greater detail about each of our programs. But we'll quickly focus on the rundown of NEFA programs on the next slide. And NEFA's different programs include New England States Touring, which will be the focus that the program that's really spotlighted at the IdeaSwap. It is also known as NEST, so you'll hear a lot of references to NEST, the New England States Touring Program. We have Creative Ground, which has just been relaunched, our online directory of artists and creatives in the region. We have a public art program, a pretty extensive partnerships in public art throughout the region. National Dance Project and National Theater Project are our national programs, and Center Stage, which is a cultural exchange program internationally that is produced by the Department of State in partnership. Actually, we produce it. We partner with the Department of State to identify the priorities for that program and for the funding for that program. So we're not going to go into great depth in any of these areas today, except for giving you an overview of IdeaSwap. The website has information, and then you're coming to this great event. All of our programs and departments will have staff at the IdeaSwap. So if you want to learn more about anything that NEFA does, just walk up to any of the staff will be identified. Come up to anyone and we'll introduce you to the person who can really focus on, answer your question. And the point really is that the staff love to talk with folks in the field. That's the best part of our job. And we really want to be approachable and want to have a relationship with you. So please come up and talk to us, and we'll look forward to meeting you there. I think I'm turning it back to Adrienne.
Yes, thank you, Jane. So we are going to talk a little bit today about NEFA's IdeaSwap. This is our 20th annual IdeaSwap event. And we are thrilled that we will be back in person this year at Mechanics Hall in Worcester. The Idea Swap is an opportunity for New England presenting organizations and touring artists to meet and to share ideas about projects and artists that might be touring the New England region. And then some of those projects turn into applications for NEFA's Nest 3 program. Nest 3 is a grant program. There are, as Jane mentioned, New England States Touring, or NEST. There are 3 versions, Nest 1, 2, and 3. We were very creative with the naming. But at IdeaSwap, we're primarily focused on Nest 3, which provides grants to support the presentation of artists from anywhere in the world, touring to at least 3 communities in New England and at least 2 different New England states. And so presenting organizations must work together to submit applications for Nest 3. Each organization submits their own application. And the Idea Swap is where a lot of those conversations begin. And so organizations in New England are highly encouraged to attend Idea Swap, to learn more about potential tours. There's an opportunity to find out what your peers and colleagues are doing, as well as identify tour partners for artists, for presenters. If you have a project that you're looking to tour and you're hoping for grant support, it's a great opportunity to meet other folks and start those conversations. Several weeks ago, we did an in-depth webinar about the Nest 3 grant opportunity. So I'm not going to go into detail on that today, but that webinar is posted on our website, and I highly recommend reviewing that. We talk a lot about the grant guidelines, eligibility, what makes for a competitive application. All of our guidelines are also available on our website, and you're welcome to review those there. So today we're really focused on Idea Swap. And first question we always get is, who attends Idea Swap? So on November 2nd in Worcester, we expect about 150 people from across New England. And this includes presenting organizations, meaning those who book artists to perform in their communities and their venues. And they're of all different shapes and sizes across the region. You'll see university art centers, you'll see small volunteer run groups, and everything in between. We will also have many touring artists and ensembles based in New England, including artists who are eligible for our NEST program. As I mentioned, there are different variations of NEST, including NEST 1 and 2, which is primarily focused on New England artists, and NEST 3, which is an opportunity to present artists from anywhere. We are also joined by service organizations, such as our partners at the New England State Arts Agencies. So it can also be a nice opportunity to connect with those folks. And then finally, as Jane mentioned, NEFA staff, most of us will be there in person. I think this might actually be the largest gathering of NEFA staff in person we've had since the pandemic started. And it is in part because an event of this scale really takes support across our whole organization. But we're all there, and we're happy to talk to you about any aspect of NEFA's work. So a little bit about what happens the day of Idea Swap. The majority of the day is made up of what we call project presentations. So after a welcome from some special guests, we will have project presentations both in the morning and the afternoon. And we have asked participants to submit their project ideas via our online event platform, Whova. At this point, I think we've had 50 or so projects submitted, maybe even more since I made these notes. And so 15 have been selected for formal presentations. These presentations will be 5 minutes long. And for anyone who's been in the past, you know, they are exactly 5 minutes long. We will time everyone. It is how we stay on track during the day. And an artist or a presenting organization will, during those 5 minutes, will share about a project they're excited to share with you. And that will include showing video of the work or a work in progress or something to give a better sense of what the project will be. In the afternoon, we will have breakout groups with what we call mini swaps. So these are shorter, more informal project presentations. There are 3 breakout groups, And folks who have been selected for those will have 4 minutes to really just stand up and talk to a smaller group of people about their project. There won't be any video or tech involved. It's a really informal opportunity to just hear about some additional projects. Our Creative Ground team will also be available throughout the day at IdeaSwap. They can show you the site, and it is great to take a look if you haven't in a while, because it has recently had a big upgrade. It looks beautiful. They will help you update your profile, and Creative Ground is a really good tool for helping to continue building your networks beyond IdeaSwap. And then at the very end of the day, there will be an optional social hour to do just the informal networking and keep the conversation going. So we hope you'll stick around for that. So that really is all we wanted to do, was to cover sort of what happens at IdeaSwap and move into more a discussion portion. But just as a reminder, you're welcome to contact anyone on the New England presenting and touring team. That's myself, Fallon Ellard, and Michelle Daly. We're all here through IdeaSwap and can answer any of your IdeaSwap questions. And then finally, we want to make sure that we thank our funders. The National Endowment for the Arts and the 6 New England state arts agencies are key partners in all of our New England work, and we are so grateful for their partnership and support. And finally, our sponsors for this year's IdeaSwap. We have had wonderful sponsors who are helping make the event possible. And so we just want to take a moment to recognize Eastern Bank, Zevin Asset Management, Trillium Asset Management, your part-time controller, Melanson, and Peabody office. So with that, we're going to conclude the portion of the presentation portion of this meeting and move into a discussion, which I think is the more interesting part of the day. I'll just wait for we have 4 panelists who are joining us. And I'll just give it a minute for them to all get joined in the center here. Great. And we are also going to be joined by Michelle Daly, who has been working with the New England team for the past several months, especially in helping to plan IdeaSwap. Michelle is a producer, a manager, an artist, and has attended IdeaSwap as a participant and is now helping to organize. So she also brings a unique perspective to this conversation.
Yeah. And I'm here, but I think maybe we can only pin 6 people. Okay. So Thank
you. So I'm going to start by asking our 4 panelists to introduce themselves very briefly, because we want to try to stay on time. And so just to talk a little bit about why you do what you do, why you come to IdeaSwap, how it works, and just the sort of short overview of who you are. So we'll start with Allie.
Hello, thank you for having me, Adrian and NEFA staff. I'm Allie Kenner-Brodsky. I use the she, her pronouns. Let's see, I'm artistic director of Allie Kenner-Brodsky and Company and co-producer at Motion State Arts, which is an arts organization based in Providence, Rhode Island. Adrian, I've already forgotten what you wanted me to say.
Anything else? Do you want to just say a little something about your work as an artist and your work
Sure,
with Motion
yeah.
State?
So,
and why you come?
Yeah, sorry. I'm a choreographer and dancer. I've been working for 20 plus years, just making emotionally driven dance theater works. I've been based in New England now for 13 years, and I think I got connected with NEFA shortly after I arrived back to Rhode Island. I now live in Massachusetts. I've been going to IdeaSwap now for 10 years, I believe. And that's probably good for now, yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
That's great. Great.
Okay.
Sabrina, would you like to go next?
Sure. Sabrina Hamilton, she, her, hers. And I have attended Idea Swap for at least 10 years, wearing both a presenter hat and a touring artist hat. And I'm usually there as the artistic director of the Co-Festival Performance, which has been 31-year-old festival devoted to themed seasons of original devised theater, usually presented on either the Amherst or the Hampshire College campus, independent though from them. And also presenting workshops, rehearsal residencies, and a new program of capacity building residencies, and off-season doing production and artistic services for various artists. And we're small, but we have gained a lot from attending Idea Swap over the years, and it's been a very empowering process.
Great, thank you. And Rob, do you want to go next and maybe also just give a little bit, because you are at a university and sometimes there are assumptions about the infrastructure that exists at universities. So maybe you can also just share a little bit about how your programming works and your staffing as well.
If I only knew. Hi, I'm Rob Richter, and I'm Director of Arts Programming at Connecticut College in New London, Connecticut. I use the he, him pronouns. I have been to Idea Swap since the beginning. I've missed one. I might have missed a virtual one, sorry, but I think I registered for it. And we have a multidisciplinary performing arts series that I curate, bringing in music, theater, and dance. I'm actually housed, I think some colleges and universities, the performing arts series is more a PR side of the organization, of the university, bringing in, trying to get people from off campus onto campus. But I'm actually housed in the academic side. And so we support the academic curriculum. Fortunately for me, we have an adventurous academic performing arts departments and art department. So I get to bring in those things that are either very sort of classical or more artistically challenging or innovative. But it's walking a fine line of, because it's still, ticket sales still support the budget. I have a budget from the college, but that's only a portion of our operating budget. So we need to bring in the community as well. So with all of the artists we bring in, we do some form of academic, some form of residency program or engagement program. I think that's probably enough for the moment.
Great, thank you. And Shoshana, you want to bring it home talking a little bit about what you do, because you, like Allie, you have a couple of, and Sabrina, you have a couple of hats, which is pretty typical.
Yeah, the whole shelf full. I'm Shoshana Bass, she, her, hers, and I'm the artistic director of Sandglass Theater. Yes, we are a presenting organization. We are also creators and devisers of original work, working primarily with puppets and in ensemble with puppets. We also teach and do residencies and educational work. So we span many places, and I was just sitting here thinking, oh, I really feel when I go to the Idea Swap that we can be a complex identity. And that's really nice, because I think that there's a number of us out there that need to sustain ourselves by being multidimensional. So we are that. And I am newer than most of you to Idea Swap, but it's been kind of handed down as it was introduced to me in slow stages. And I started going together with my father, who is the founder of our theater. And we've been in a transition for the last 6 years of the company, and NEFA has been a big part of that transition. I'm actually right now zooming in from, I'm on tour right now through a NEFA funded program. So it's really imbued in everything that we do on all facets of our identity.
Great, thank you. So I'm curious, and anyone can start this. why you make the time to come to Idea Swap. How does it support your work? Who wants to jump in?
I'll jump in. So, I mean, for us, sorry, Allie, if you were about to jump. So for me, it's really twofold. To reconnect with colleagues who or reconnect or meet new ones. Particularly, I think there's been a lot of change in the New England presenting community, arts community in the past few years. So it's to meet new colleagues, reconnect with old colleagues or veteran colleagues, and to see what kind of partnerships that we might develop together in either presenting or otherwise. And then the other part is really to be exposed to artists that I don't know about. And ideas, for projects or presenting artists. And those ideas, I think, come to me from the projects that are being presented in the project presentations or even the mini swaps, but also that opportunity to talk to colleagues to hear, what they're thinking about it. Might not be something that's being presented there. And I do have to say, it's until relatively recently, we have not presented many New England artists. So, and that's more because of our our geography and our focus to bring things to the region from much further afield, from much farther away. And things that would not normally be seen in our own region. So sometimes we are presenting an artist that their engagement with us might be their only engagement in New England, certainly their only engagement in Connecticut. So it's that sharing of ideas. I guess that's why it's called an idea swap. But so those are my two primary objectives.
Yeah. Sabrina, do you want to build on that a little bit? And because you've also done a mix of at Co-Festival, you've had long relationships with artists, including New England artists, but you've also come to Idea Swap and talked about other projects and built partnerships with other presenters for artists from further afield.
Yeah, we do that mix. And one of the things that I found really useful is to sort of figure out what the ecology of the presenting world is, like who are sort of peer organizations in terms of budget, who are peer organizations in terms of when they present. We've been a summer festival, so things like that, learning about best practices. Also, as a smaller presenter, sometimes hearing about larger projects that we could only conceive of as part of a Nest 3 kind of thing, and thinking about ways that we could be innovative and do what I call value-added presenting to bring in some of the larger groups. So we will give artists as much money as we can, but we also think about what else do artists need? Do they need a vacation in the country with their family, with babysitting? Do they need videotapes of their group? Do they need of their piece? Do they need a lighting design that they can then take away with them and use in the future? What kinds of things can we provide? So part of it's getting the lay of the land that way. And also going to the swap, there are times when artists perform as part of the swap. And I actually picked up a piece from that Sokio Ross's piece, which we ended up premiering. I was sure that all these larger presenters would have grabbed this project because it was, such a compelling presentation. And when I saw him the next year, nobody had. And so we got to premiere it. And that was just an honor and a wonderful thing to do. So part of it is that local part, so that I'm really thinking across the different Nest levels. So New England artists for the lower budgeted Nest 1, 2 kinds of things, and then Nest 3 for artists that are usually from further afield.
Great, thank you. And Allie and Shoshana, so you both play dual roles as presenting artists, but you're also both touring artists. And a lot of artists come to Idea Swap, and it can be challenging sometimes. And you know, it is, I always say it's the start of a relationship. But I'm wondering if either of you would be willing to share a little bit about why you come and sort of how this fits into your touring work and building relationships. ahead.
I'll jump in if that's okay. That's okay. So I started going to Idea Swap when I was new to the region, and I thought it just gave me a better sense of what was going on in the landscape of New England. I had been in New York for a long time, so I didn't really know what was going on with New England. And as an artist, you send out a lot of emails to people, and sometimes, you know, you don't hear anything, and Idea Swap is a really nice time to introduce yourself and get that face-to-face time and say, oh, I'm the one that's been hounding you in your inbox. And I find that really valuable, and I really look forward to that year after year now that I've been in the region for a bit and been doing things. And I have to say, as a receiver of many NEST grants, it's really, NEST has made it possible for me to move my work around New England in a way that wouldn't be possible on my own. That's as a performing artist. Little did I know when I was at Idea Swap, however many years ago it is now, maybe 2015 or 14, I met David Henry, who at the time was at the Institute of Contemporary Art in Boston. He was the producer of the dance performance there. And we struck up a relationship. We became very friendly. We'd meet for coffee. And now in 2022 or in 2019, I brought him on to Motion State Arts as he was walking out the door of the ICA retiring. I said, hey, David, you're not done. Come, come and help us start Motion State Arts, which is a dance film. We produce a dance film series in Providence, as well as a yearly dance festival. And David has been integral in that. And that relationship was built at Idea Swap. And little did I know when we met that so many years later, that was going to be an invaluable relationship to me. So I guess for me as an artist, you just don't know where these relationships are going to lead. When you meet someone, have a conversation, eat lunch together, whatever, you just don't know a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, like what that relationship yields. It's just been really valuable.
Thanks. Shoshana, did you want to respond to that as well?
Sure. The three words that come to mind for me are relationship, inspiration, and synergy. And as reasons to attend in kind of an overarching feeling. For Sandglass Theater, and again with the different hats, but we bring in international artists for our international festival. And for those, it's been really essential to have other partners in that. I want to shout out some people in the room. I see Mayo Street Arts, Next Stage, and Coke Festival, of course, here. And these kind of relationships that often are prompted by gatherings, like you were saying, Allie, are just, they continue and they emerge, they continue to emerge. So I think the continued visiting and check-in of a yearly event like this really serves something longer. So I think for me, because of the multiple identities, I go into Idea Swap really open toward what might emerge and what connections might evolve or suddenly spark, and not try to treat Idea Swap as like the place everything needs to be finalized and happen, but just to kind of have a finger on the pulse. And I think it's also a way that we check in with the greater field, especially regionally, and like check that everyone's doing okay and surviving, and have a kind of finger on the pulse of our sector. and what questions people are asking and what they're dealing with, both as presenters and as artists. One big piece for me that's become really vital, both as a touring artist and as a presenter, has to do with the fact that we live in a very rural place, and to bring an artist from afar is a rather expensive and big thing to do. Also, to work here as an artist, it's important that we have really strong networks. So to work together on tours or places where an artist can come from outside the community, not just for one gig and then fly home, which I think is, we're in a new reality where also in regards to the climate, that is not a sustainable model. And we need to really think of different ways to be working together and addressing pretty pressing needs of our time, I think, in terms of how artists move around and tour and perform. So that's a big passion of mine that I think that this organization in particular really has access to doing something about. As an artist, for me, that often means two presenters that I've been talking to separately that don't know, that I have the opportunity to take both of them and say, hey, meet each other. How can you work together on a tour for this piece that serves all parties in the process and really, lets you share costs and do stuff like that. So I find myself as an artist bringing together presenters. I find myself as a presenter really finding where the advocacy piece is in terms of the sustainability of this model and just taking care of our wider field a little bit. So those are the things that spring to mind for me right now.
Can I add one more thing, which is, yes, as Shosha was saying, advocating for artists that you love. And I love wearing my Yenta hat, but also being seen as an artist in the idea swap context sometimes is really effective. A show that I was with that had performed at my festival at Eris was picked up by a presenter in a much larger house, but in the community next door. And if we hadn't been at Idea Swap, that never would have happened. When I was looking for touring opportunities, I would even have approached that presenter. But the project really struck her, and that's how that happened.
Michelle, you, like many people here, are wearing lots of hats, including as NEFA staff right now too. Is there anything about why you have attended Idea Swap or what you think is valuable that we haven't touched on?
I think the one thing I would add is I think similar to Ali, I started coming in like 2014, 2015, and I was a brand new presenter who kind of got thrust into a role that at that time I probably wasn't completely prepared for. And just Idea Swap and just meeting this like network of artists and colleagues in New England was so helpful for me as I was finding my footing as a presenter and also sort of my curatorial and creative voice. And just like repeatedly over the years, I feel like that strengthens. And it's really exciting for me now to kind of be on the other side of it, of helping make Idea Swap a reality for this year.
Great, thank you. So I'm sure a question that a lot of folks have, because I get it when people call me about Idea Swap, is how, as an artist, what's the best way for an artist to build a relationship with presenters? So for any of you, either your artist hat, your presenter hat, any thoughts on like, how do you approach presenters and start to build that relationship? Yes, Shoshana.
I would say do your research before the swap about who's going to be there. Look up their organizations and before just mass emailing anybody who's on the presenter list, like know what go to the website, look at what work they present, what programs they have, what excites you, what might align with what you do. And I think that's a really, really important step, because then there's an authentic connection that can happen about, I'm working on this project and I saw that you're serving these communities that I think would really benefit for this. And can we talk about what that may look like? I mean, there's nothing like, we all know what happens when creatives get into a room together and can just have like free time to dream and network and think. So for me, that's a really important piece of allowing us to do that well.
I think that's a great suggestion, and you gave me a perfect place to plug our Creative Ground website, which also gives you the opportunity to look up cultural organizations in New England and learn more about their work. But Sabrina, Rob, Allie, anything else you would add to that?
I want to add something that Shoshana just said in terms of doing your research, and that's hard. I mean, it takes time. But I had and the question that Adrian posed is, many artists have asked me, and I don't have a good answer. But there was an artist that reached out to me via email, and I mean, I get at least 100 emails a day from artists unsolicited. And how do you wade through them all? I mean, early on in my career, when there were less emails, I thought I have to answer every single one, and it's not possible. And I had an artist who, not from New England, who reached out to me, maybe 6 weeks ago. And I thought, I need to respond. I never did. And then I got another email from him saying, are you ignoring me? I've been in this business too long to be ignored. And I'm like, well, so he did get my attention. And I did respond. And I said, well, I've been in this business a long time too, and I respect artists, and I've been busy. And so I think it's so tough as an artist to put yourself out there. And I think what he did not do was he didn't look at our website to see what types of artists we present. And I will respond more quickly to somebody who it's within the realm of what we do. I mean, we don't do family programming. And when somebody pitches family programming to me, I don't even respond. So it is that research. It's making that personal connection. I mean, I am more likely to respond if somebody addresses it to me and names me or has some frame of reference to what we do. It's not a guarantee, but it's that connection that we have met, and I might need to be reminded that we've met. And so it's a challenge. But I think it's the research, it's the connection, and it's some perseverance. And I sort of feel like there's some other thought that I don't remember now, but I will stop there and maybe it'll come back to me.
I think it's important to use lunch and all those times around the actual formal sessions, and to, take a big breath and overcome shyness, and to not just hang with the people that to be brave that way, but also as the day goes on is sort of who's sort of in your performance ecology, and to prioritize meeting those folks. I find it really useful when artists have something that I can take with them, whether I like a one sheet or a business card or a something, so that I have a thing, because then it sits on my desk and looks back at me. And I like that. And it lets me know where to go for more. I think it's really useful when artists, and one of the ways that you can show that you've done your homework is when you come up to us and say, oh, I see that you presented such and such, they're old friends of mine, or we do really similar work, or, how did it go when you presented that, who, so that you're finding a bridge that way, that you're introducing yourself by putting yourself on a map for them, rather than just being your own sort of island in the field, is useful too. And then taking notes and doing the follow-up. It's really good to have something some way, whether it's your phone or a piece of paper, to jot it down, and particularly names, and because sometimes presenters will mention other presenters, or artists will mention other people who are not there. And so you don't have it on any of the documentation of the event. So have a way to record those kinds of bits of useful information.
That's awesome information, Sabrina. I just wanted to add, we are using Whova platform this year, which I think all of you have probably at least dipped your toes into at this point. And yes, that's to share sort of all your project information, but also as the sessions go through the day, there's places in the app to take notes. We're going to be doing the project interest survey through the app. So, for those who feel comfortable in that technology, it's going to be a great resource for people who have a preference for pen and paper. To make sure you bring your notebook.
Thanks. Allie, did you want to add something?
Well, I was just going to say, when I first started going, I don't think I knew anyone, and it was really, and I know, Adrian, you do a very good job of seating people now at tables. And so I would think it's really great just to talk to the people at your table, and that kind of is really nice, because then when you say what you do, they're like, oh, did you meet blah, blah, blah. And I've had people literally walk me over to meet Kelsey at Space Gallery, which which yielded, we'll be there next month. And so, yeah. And Sabrina, the lunch line is a really great place to chat. And I also find after Idea Swap at the little kind of informal gathering where people are just a little bit more relaxed, and is also a really great place to just introduce yourself. And I also agree, it's hard to go up to people and say, hi, I'm so-and-so, but this is the place to do it. It's sort of almost expected. People want that. And so, yeah, it's hard because some of us could be shyer, but it's also could yield, again, a really great relationship that you can build on. And I think I met you there, Sabrina, and Rob. So
Yes, and I so remember when you first started coming. I mean, I to this day remember your energy, and you would like really meet people and look them in the eye and really present yourself, but you didn't like pin people down. You were really, really good at that.
Thank you. If anyone
like
needs,
memorable all these years later.
Oh, thank you. I'm always happy to chat with anyone. So if anyone is here and is new and you see me, come and chat. I'm always up for a good chat. So,
I want to just quickly comment on the shy factor. I mean, I think we're all the perception is that we're all out there and we're bold, but many of us are not. And I don't know how people perceive me, but I am shy. And maybe I don't sound like it now, but in those sort of large groups settings, and so on both sides, and not that there's sides, but yes, there are, I mean, we're all in this together. And we all have the same goal and objective, to present the best performances that we can as presenters and as artists. And so, but there is that shy factor, and somebody might be aloof, and it's for a different reason. So anyway.
Right. So I just want to ask one last question before we move into some informal networking, which people have already alluded to. That's a big part of Idea Swap as well. But so Idea Swap, I think it's clear, is the beginning of a lot of conversations or a chance to check in with folks. And I'm wondering, this is not the only opportunity that exists. This is the opportunity NEFA has put together. But would any of you like to just share about other networks or opportunities or things you're part of where you also get a chance to continue conversations and build relationships? And I'll put you on. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so I also met Randy Fippinger at Idea Swap, and I guess it was right when the pandemic started. He pulled me in, so now I'm on the board of New England Presenters. I'm the secretary, which has been a really great learning experience for me as I began producing through Motion State Arts and sort of really understanding the landscape of what that is. That's been really an amazing organization to be a part of. So if for our newer presenters out there, if you don't know about New England presenters, please, find me or talk to me about that.
I found, in addition to New England presenters, the network of ensemble theaters, which Sandglass is also a part of, and so much of our programming has come through that national organization, the network of ensemble theaters. There's one other thing I really wanted to add, because I found it incredibly useful, which is when artists were able to present different tiers of their project with different price points. So like, here's the full-blown thing, and then here's the smaller version. Here's the thing with just the week-long residency. And that has allowed me to partner with other presenters of different scales for a Nest 3. And I've noticed in the mini breakouts, artists doing that more. And I find that a really, really, really useful tool.
Great, thanks, Sabrina. Rob, Shoshana, we've talked about network of ensemble theaters,
Yeah.
New England presenters.
I mean, I think New England presenters has been crucial for me, and I've been involved. I mean, I was president years ago, and it's been a great network. There's also APNE, Arts Presenters of Northern New England, which, since I'm in Southern New England, I'm not as involved with, but certainly have worked with people with APNE. And there's overlap between them and New England presenters. And then, the regional booking conferences, and I try to go to APAP, Association of Performing Arts Professionals conference in New York in January every year. I mean, and it's huge and it's overwhelming and it's tough and it's not cheap, but it's been valuable for me. I think the very first time, and I've actually pretty much been going since 99. My very first time going, I had sort of an informal mentor, not an official mentor, even though they do have mentors, who said, and I was not booking at the time, I was there to learn. And so she said, okay, walk around, have a folder and walk around with your folder over your name tag. So people don't know who you are. And so you can just observe and watch, and people won't, they like, ooh, Connecticut College, I need to talk to you. Now, I have been challenged over the years with some people saying you're covering up your name tag and I don't know who you are. But it is sort of, I think the first time you go, it's a great opportunity, but take it in small doses. Go to orient yourself first, is my suggestion.
Yeah, I'd like to support two things you just said, Rob. One is a mentor, like having a conference buddy is a really wonderful thing because of all the things we just talked about, how overwhelming and intimidating it can be. And just to have someone you're checking in with, even, you go off, you check in with, go off and check in, or maybe someone who's done the conferences more times that who you can ask, will you kind of be my buddy? I think is a really supportive, lovely thing to have. And then the other piece you mentioned just left my head. It's gone. In terms of networks, I think, well, for any artist or presenter, your network kind of depends and is informed by what disciplines you work in. I think it's important for us to think about networks outside of the arts and culture sector as well as the networks that we function in. I think that many theaters function in their town municipalities, and many people function in collaboration with, agricultural net, wherever you are, so that we expand the thinking of what networks can be and how we coexist and support each other that way. Sandglass is a partner with the National Performance Network as well, who I'd like to shout out into the room, who are doing incredible work for artists that are focused and presenters focused on anti-oppression work, social justice work. We have, a consortium of puppet enthusiastic presenters in the region. We have an international puppetry network. So there's many different layers of networks, and I'm on the board of the network of ensemble theaters that Sabrina mentioned. So if anyone wants to talk deeper about that, I'm always happy to talk about the kind of ethos and value system of that network. And I remember what the thing was also what Rob said, that this is like not a one-off thing. This is a long-term, long relationship of a network that builds over time. And for me, with all these networks, the first time I went completely overwhelmed and intimidated, and more I feel this is like a lifeline and support system for me. And when I come, I'm seeing friends and people I've worked with, and like there's a reunion aspect to it, and there's new and exciting family members. I treat everything maybe a little too personally like family, but that's how I was raised. And that there's just that you treat it like a long-term thing. It doesn't all have to, it won't all happen the first time. And certain overlaps happen with the different networks we're part of that I think strengthen us more and more. And I just love this idea that, yeah, we're all in it together. So there's no like us and them. And it's very different from APAP, for example, which is to me just too much. And there's not much I can do with that. But this idea that there is like a united goal that we have is a really beautiful way to approach it. So thanks for saying that, Rob. I'm going to take that nugget with me.
You know, it's conversation and having conversation. And I was on the phone with an artist manager that I've worked with for many years the other day, and she had her projects that she was pitching, you know, and then we got into just conversation, you know, and she said, well, are you coming, you know, will you be at APAP this year? And I'm like, oh, actually this year I'm not going to be, I'm going to be in Cambodia. And that's a long story, but, and she's like, huh, there's another project that I never would have thought to have asked you about, you know, and it's the Paul Drescher ensemble working with some Cambodian dancers, and, you know, and the Aspara. And I'm like, oh yeah, this Aspara, the court, you know, and so, you know, and so it's that casual conversation that sometimes is the more fruitful. And so it's, you know, we're human beings, all of us. And sometimes in those settings, we do put up some barriers, but we're human beings and conversation is key.
Yeah. And I think that is a perfect segue. So we do want to go into just some small breakouts. We're going to just do some randomized breakouts and just have a chance for folks to meet each other, you know, connect prior to arriving in Worcester. And so as you go into your breakouts, we ask that you just go around and do introductions, your name, affiliation, if you have one, pronouns, and what you're most looking forward to at Idea Swap. And so we'll give you just a few minutes to do those conversations. But I want to thank Sabrina, Rob, Ali, and Shoshana. That was an amazing conversation. And we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
I think we all need to thank NEFA for everything NEFA does.
Thank you, Rob. And we're looking forward to seeing everyone in person too and having those conversations. So I think it may just take a minute with the technology, but for folks that can stick around, we'll do some short little breakouts and give you a chance to chat.